Good evening, professionals. Now, Friday webinar, we've started with Singapore Companies Act, where we have read and understood together at least 7 chapters in detail, covering how to form a company in Singapore, how to register a company in Singapore, and how you will establish a place of business in Singapore. Then, various governing provisions like how auditors are governed under Singapore Companies Act, directors are governed under Singapore Companies Act, and how registers are maintained under the Act. So, after discussing in detail about all these various governing provisions under the Act, where the Act refers to Singapore Companies Act, of course, with all the amendments to it. Today, we are going to see another interesting provision, charges under Singapore Companies Act. Prior to which, we also study issuance of shares under Singapore Companies Act, friends. So today, we will deal with charges. So charges, when will you create charge, friends? A charge is creating on a debt of the company. So it is an instrument evidencing the debt of the company. So we will see which are those areas where it is mandatory for you to create a charge and register the charge under Singapore Companies Act. My sincere thanks to Sundar and Aishwarya for this presentation. Agenda will be registration of charges, where Division 8 is the charging provision, friends, where Section 131, subsection 3 clearly provides the scope, which are those properties or assets where you will create charge and where it is mandatory. So registration of charges, making it obligatory for the companies to create charge, and it is again obligatory and hence duty of the company to register the charges existing on the property which it has acquired, and maintenance of register, again register of charges, where you will describe the name of the charge holder and the property which is subject to charge. And there are 2 subdivisions there, when it is created for a debenture issue or when it is created for any other debt, how it is registered. An endorsement of certificate of registration on debenture. This is a specific provision for debenture, friends. When we issue debenture, we all are aware that an issue is evidenced by a certificate, just like your share certificate. So when a debenture certificate is issued, it shall bear an endorsement stating that sufficient charge has been created. So it is a mandatory requirement as far as debentures are issued. You will see the relevant provision there. And once you settle the debt, there comes the satisfaction or payment of charge or release of charge, which is your cessation of charge. Ideally, your property is free from any encumbrance or lien. Extension of time. Suppose it is just and equitable that you could not create registration of the charge, where registrar is given the discretionary power to decide whether extension could be allowed or not. Companies shall create copies of these charging instruments, which shall act as sufficient record that charge has been created. More with reference to your section 199, just like your section in Companies Act, which talks about your books of accounts, where it has to be maintained and preserved by the company. Similar to that, the instrument evidencing the charge has to be preserved and maintained, not only to establish the fact that it is establishing this true and fair view of your financial affairs of the company, but also when it comes for audit review, you have to produce these instruments. Documents made out of Singapore, where the documents were registered out of Singapore, then it is just and a genuine reason for you to delay the registration of charge, in which case there is an extension of further 7 days allowed, which we will see with specific provision reference and applicability of this division 8. Which are those areas where the scope is covered for division 8, which we are going to see today. Section 131, we will begin with registration of charges. Subsection 1 clearly talks about the timeline, friends. Within when you have to create the charge, which is within 30 days you have to create the charge. And what is the consequence of non-registration? It will make it void against the liquidator and the creditor if it is not complied with. So please remember, friends, more than the borrower, It is the responsibility of the creditor to ensure that sufficient charge is created. Why? Because the effect of non-registration is it will be construed as void. 1A talks about producing this document to the registrar and he is asking for inspection. You are creating a charge within the timeline specified under subsection 1. And tomorrow registrar is asking you to provide evidence whether you have created a charge on this particular property or assets of the company. You are obligated to provide the copy to him, and you cannot say that I have registered, go and check your register. No. So 1A makes it obligatory for the company to create or evidence and produce it upon requirement by the registrar. Subsection 2 says that nothing in subsection 1 shall affect any contract or obligation for repayment of money. Suppose the creditor or liquidator wakes up and says that, hey, make me the repayment of whatever principal and interest is outstanding. Then, even when the charge is becoming void, you cannot say no to this repayment obligation. You have to immediately make the payment. So, it is forthwith payment you have to make when the liquidator or creditor is going to ask you for the payment because of the charge becoming void and because of non-registration of the charge. Subsection 3 is a charging section under section 131, which talks about the areas where you will be creating charge. A charge to secure any issue of debenture. So when you are creating a debenture issue, automatically it is a secured debenture and hence you have to mandatorily create a charge. Point number 1. A charge on shares of the subsidiary of the company. I am the holding company and I am holding shares in my subsidiary company. It could be a wholly owned subsidiary or it is a simpliciter subsidiary, in which case a charge on the shares of the subsidiary which are owned by this holding company, you have to certainly create charge on those shares, and a charge which creates evidence on the debt, which is very important. So evidence on the debt is nothing but the charge which you have created on any instrument, which if executed by an individual would require registration as a bill of sale, in which case charge registration is mandatory. A charge on land. However, charge on land shall not include your payment of rent or any periodical sum arising out of land. So, if there is going to be any monthly arrears of payment of rent or whatever it is, then that will not be reckoned for the purpose of constituting charge. A charge on uncalled capital of the company. Say it is 10 rupee per share and there is uncalled capital of rupees 2 where the called up capital is only 8 and for 2 there is a charge created, then you may have to register that. A charge on the book debts of the company, which is your accounts receivables. A floating charge on the undertaking or property. What is floating charge, friends? Fixed charge is a particular charge. You are assigning it a specified asset. When it is pari passu charge and when it is a subservient charge, we call it as a floating charge. And it charge on calls made but not paid. So when it is like unpaid, you have made the call on share, but it is remaining unpaid. So a charge created on the same. A charge on ship. However, there are certain exemptions which we'll be seeing in the subsequent slide. And charge on all your IP rights, be it your goodwill, patent, trademark, or design, geographical design. So any charge created on these shall also be mandatorily registered. And this is effective Companies Amendment Act 2014, which is effective 3rd Jan 2016. Then subsection 3AA says this shall also apply to any charge. There was a charge to which section 131 applied prior to the date of commencement of this section and which was created before the commencement. So it applies in both the cases, and despite a ship owner's lien created by a company on or after the date of commencement of this section, because 3AB is inserted effective 1st October 2018, whether as a charge on the book debts or a floating charge on the undertaking of property is not a charge to which this section applies. So, after this particular section is notified, they say that if a ship owner lien is created, whether it is a charge on receivables or a floating charge, it is not a charge to which this section applies because ship owner lien is specifically excluded, and here it says its shipowner lien means a contractual lien on subfreights, subhires, or bill of lading freight. Let's understand the concept of how subfreight subhire works, friends, to understand this particular provision better. See, bill of lading, we all are aware, it is a legal document between the carrier and the shipper, ideally for providing a receipt with regard to the document, the type of document which is being loaded into the ship, and which the carrier will be having it as an acknowledgement while having this delivered at the destination. A subfreight subhire are almost the same concept, where it is a lien which is marked on the payment which is required to be made by the carrier to this particular person who is obligated to pay to the owner. So, ideally it should be called as a subcarrier who has to make the payment to the carrier, and this a lien is marked on this primarily for the overall hire charges which is payable to the owner of the ship by the charter. So, subfreight or subhire is again a lien marked by the ship owner, which is a contractual obligation, which is created under a charter or subcharter of a ship for any amount due under the charter or subcharter as the case may be. So 3AC says a ship owner's lien created before 1st October 2018, whether as a charge on the book debts of the company or as a floating charge, is a charge to which this section applies. Previously we saw that this after 1st October 2018 shall not apply, but in certain instances it is applicable when it is an order for winding up of the company, or when a resolution has been passed for voluntary winding up of the company, or a creditor has acquired a proprietary right to or an interest in the subject matter of lien. Subsection 3A says reference to charge on book debts as specified in your 3 clause F will not include a charge on a negotiable instrument or a debenture issued by government. These are all exclusions. Likewise, it will not be included for international interest in Aircraft Equipment Act 2009, and registered here refers to the specific statute as defined, which is international interest in aircraft equipment. And where a charge is created in Singapore, which affects the property outside Singapore, the statement which contains the prescribed particulars of the charge which is created and registered shall, and in accordance with this particular subsection, which is within 30 days of creating the charge, you are registering it, notwithstanding that further proceedings may be necessary to make the charge valid or effectual according to the law of the place in which the property is situated. So here, this does not affect a charge which is created in Singapore, which affects the property which is situated outside Singapore. So subsection 4 is specifically to property situated outside Singapore. Subsection 5 is for your debenture issues. We all are aware that debenture could be a consolidated size. For example, you are creating a debenture issue for 100 crores. It could be one particular series, or generally in the case of banks or financial institutions, they need capital adequacy requirement norm to be fulfilled, in which case they will be raising it in tranches, which they call it as series of debentures issued. So this is what they refer as series of debentures in the first instance in subsection 5. When a series of debentures are issued with regard to any instrument which is creating the charge, the benefit of which the debenture holders of that series are equally entitled is created by the company. Then in which case it shall be sufficient if they it shall be sufficient if they provide the registration of charge within 30 days after execution of the instrument. Please remember, friends, subsection 1 clearly said within 30 days or they have to register the charge after they create the charge. But for debenture, it is within 30 days after you execute an instrument, which means you are signing the debenture trust deed or you are signing the debenture agreement with regard to issue of debenture, in which case the 30 days will be triggered from the date you sign the instrument and not from the date you create the charge. So that is the difference between subsection 1 and subsection 5, because subsection 5 is specifically assigned to debentures. And if there is no instrument, say debenture trust deed is not created, then a statement containing the particulars with regard to the amount secured by the whole series. In our example, it is totally 500 crores. On date of resolution, say your board had approved it. Yes, friends, let's continue. Sorry. Subsection 6 says, what if there are more than one series of issue of debentures? Then it shall be lodged within 30 days of each issue of debenture, specifying the date of such particular issue of series and the amount of each issue. Say if it is going to be 100 crores in each issue, then you may have to specify. But again, there is a caveat in subsection 6 and 7, which says that omission to create such issue shall not invalidate the debenture issue. Likewise, you have to mention the commission or discount which is paid directly or indirectly by the company with regard to subscription of issue of debentures, whether you subscribe or agree to subscribe or procure or agree to procure, as the case may be. And the particulars shall also include the amount of such particular commission, allowance or discount, as the case may be. But omission to lodge the particulars shall not invalidate this debenture issue. The deposit of any debenture as security shall not be treated as issue of debentures at a discount. And no charge to which this section applies need to be filed or registered under any other return law. Which means, like in India, while you create a charge, you have this CHG1 which has to be filed. And parallelly, you have to do the filings with CERSAI within 30 days, which is again evidencing this particular charge being created. But here, there is a specific provision in subsection 9 which says, if you are registering this particular charge, then no need to register under any other written law. Subsection 10 says that where a charge requiring registration under this section is created before the lapse of 30 days and comprises all or any of the property comprised in the prior charge, then to the extent to which the subsequent charge is the security of the same debt, the subsequent charge shall be considered to be inoperative or shall be considered to be invalid unless it is proved that such subsequent charge is created in good faith, point 1, or for correcting some material error in the prior charge, or point number 3, under other proper circumstances as considered fit, which is only for the purpose of complying with the provisions and not for evading the provisions of this particular charge. So if the subsequent charge is created to correct the error or only in good faith, only then it will be allowed to be created as a charge if the prior charge was not created or registered under subsection 1. Friends, please feel free to ask me for any doubts or clarification on the subject. That is duty to register charges. Now, having said that, 131 makes it mandatory for the companies to register the charge and the scope of the areas where the charge has to be created, the properties or assets which will fall within the ambit as specified in subsection 3. What if you fail to register? If there is any default, then the company and every officer shall be liable for a fine up to Singapore dollars 1,000. And I am the company, I am borrowing, I am supposed to register the charge, no doubt. But I am borrowing it from, say, X. X being the creditor or liquidator, in the interest of not leading to a void of this particular activity, because if the charge is not created, again under subsection 1, it becomes void. So in the interest of securing the payment, if X is going to register the charge, then you have every right, that is, you is here X has every right to recover the amount from the company, because this is the obligation of the company to make the payment. Duty of the company to register the charges existing on the property acquired. There are 3 instances, friends. A company acquires property which is subject to charge, and if the same requires registration, if such charge had been created after such acquisition. I am acquiring a property. After acquisition, it makes it mandatory for the charge to be created on the property, point number 1. Or a foreign company created a charge before registering in Singapore, and if it requires registration, if the charge had been created after registering in Singapore. Or 3 is a combination of both 1 and 2. A foreign company acquires a property with existing charge before registering in Singapore, and if the same requires registration had it been created on the property 1 after acquisition or after registering the same in Singapore, in which case such property requires mandatory registration of such particular charge being created. Or if that foreign company, if they are registered in Singapore, then this particular obligation occurs by virtue of this 131 subsection 1 and 3, then the company shall certainly lodge a statement to the registrar within 30 days of either the acquisition or a foreign company registering in Singapore, as the case may be. And for violation of this provision, there is a liability, friends, to pay fine not exceeding Singapore dollars 1,000 and also liable to a default penalty. Maintenance of statutory register to be kept by registrar. A talks about debenture and B talks about any other type of charge. And in case of charge, the benefit of which holders of series of debentures are entitled, such particulars as specified in 131 subsection 5. 131.5 we discussed about the total amount of all the series put together, the date of the resolution in which you are going to approve this particular series of debentures. Point number 3, the general description of the property, whether it is an immobile property or mobile property, what you are going to constitute or evidence as a test for this particular charge being created. And point number 4 is your debenture trustees details. So all these 4 particulars are mandatorily required to be entered in the register of charges. And in case of any other charge, if the charge is created by the company, the date of creation, the charge was existing on the property which is acquired by the company, then date of acquisition of the property, amount which is secured by the charge. If you are going to procure a loan from a bank for 500 crores, you have to specify that, and description of the property, whether it is towards a mobile or immobile property against which the charge is being created, and the name of the person. In our case, if it is bank or financial institution, you have to specify the charge holder details therein. And registrar, after this registration of charge, will issue a notice, and that is construed as a conclusive evidence. And if the company wants a certificate, they may pay Singapore $50 and get a certificate as well. But notice itself is a conclusive proof that a charge is registered. Endorsement of certificate on registration. Debenture, we saw that endorsement should be appearing when there is this particular debenture certificate which is issued against a series of debenture or for the whole issue of debentures. A company which issues secured debentures shall endorse the following against the face of their debenture certificate. What should the endorsed detail contain? 1. A copy of the notice of registration. We saw in the previous slide that this particular notice is provided by the registrar giving sufficient evidence. So this particular notice of registration should be endorsed on the face of your debenture certificate, or if it is debenture stock, on the face of it, or a statement providing necessary proof about the registration and the date when this particular registration of charge has happened. So all these details have to be embossed on the face of your debenture certificate, and this shall not apply to any certificate which was issued before registering charge. Suppose you have issued the certificate before registering, then it will be construed as a sufficient compliance and default will not be reckoned. So penal provision, if you violate this, is for a fine not exceeding Singapore dollars 2,000. Entries of satisfaction. From 131 to 135, we saw about how you have to create the charge, and failing to register the charge, what will be the penal consequence. And when you settle that particular liability, and your charge holder should mandatorily provide you a no due certificate, and against that no due certificate, a statement has to be provided to the registrar that the payment is settled, and the second statement will be issued by this particular charge holder, which is a conclusive proof that there is cessation of this payment, and this leads to satisfaction of your charge, which means against that property, if you are going to take any other loan, it is free of any other encumbrance or lien, and hence you may create a fresh charge subsequently. With respect to any registered charge, the debt for which charge was made has been paid or satisfied either in whole or in part. The property or undertaking has been released from this particular charge. Company first will lodge with the registrar a statement, and second statement, such statement shall be endorsed, which is the second statement, by the chargee, who is your charge holder. In our case, being the bank or financial institution, which will provide proof that this payment is settled or satisfied, which shall constitute conclusive evidence of this particular payment satisfaction or settlement of your loan outstanding. Then, extension of time and rectification of your register of charges. Court shall rectify the omission to register a charge. I omit to register the charge, and I realize that there is a statutory obligation under section 131 for me to register. Do I have a rescue? Yes. This section clearly says when an application is made under these three buckets. First bucket, omission or misstatement of any particular, which will happen in the case of rectification of your register of charges. Misstatement of any particular with respect to any charge due to accidental omission or by way of inadvertence. I am omitting such particulars to be stated in the register, or some other sufficient cause is shown which is not in the nature of affecting the interest of your creditors or shareholders. So it is not prejudicial to their interest, or when it is just and equitable, that necessary relief shall be granted to this company. And when such application is made by A, company, or B, by any other person interested, it could be your charge holder also, then the court, in this case, the discretionary authority is given to court and not your registrar, friends, please remember, shall rectify the omission to register a charge by passing just and equitable order. Companies shall keep copies of all the charging instruments read with your section 199, which is the principal governing provision for accounting records and other documents to be maintained by the company. Every company shall keep the instrument which creates this particular evidence of debt where at the registered office of the company. And for series of debentures, they have clarified that at least a copy of one series of debentures, it is sufficient. So there are series A to Z, then it is sufficient that one series of such debenture is kept, because the principal document or the information memorandum is going to remain the same for all such series. So that is the rationale. And an instrument creating charge or a copy of such series which is required to be stated shall be deemed to form part of your records stated in 199, where the principal section talks about the accounting records or any other financial transaction which shall be the proof that the company is maintaining them in a true and fair view manner, and which shall be audited and properly kept and produced for inspection anytime when required. And 199(2) clearly says that the period of maintenance of such accounting and other records is at least 5 years, and when from the end of the financial year when the transaction has actually happened. And after the date, the debt for which the charge was given was fully settled or paid. So from then on, the 5-year period gets reckoned, friends, please remember. The date the property or undertaking charged was released or ceased to have effect, or where both the events occur. Say for example, my debt was paid, but the property was not released. But the property was released subsequently. Then whichever is the later date, from then on your 5-year period should be reckoned. And every company shall keep at the registered office a register of charges and all the particulars specifying the property and undertaking where the such charge is created, the description of the property which is evidencing this particular debt, and the amount of charge shall be recorded therein. And it shall be kept open for inspection and on payment of fee not exceeding Singapore dollars 2 for each inspection as may be fixed by the company. Yeah, and any person on an application to the company on payment of fee not exceeding Singapore dollar 1 for every page could also obtain a copy of such instrument. If it is trust deed and he is going to pay per page this amount, then he is entitled to get a copy of this trust deed within 3 days of making such application. And for penalty, again, there is the serious consequence of amount not exceeding Singapore dollars 2000 and also to a default penalty over and above this fine. And documents made out of Singapore, there is an additional timeline provided, friends. So time for lodging is extended by 7 days because because of the operational and other logistics issues they might foresee. And 140 charges created before 29th December 1967, which is your repealing provision. This division shall apply to any charge which was registrable under any of the earlier provisions but was not registered under any of those earlier laws as on 29th December 1967 unless and until it is specifically provided they shall be certainly registered under this particular division. And application of this division 141 makes the scope pretty wide. It clearly says that for all this division, that is division 8, shall apply to not only the companies registered in Singapore, but also all the foreign companies which are registered as discussed in all the earlier slides, if and only if it is registered under division 2 of part 11, where we discussed in our second series of the Singapore Companies Act that division 2 of part 11 is how to establish place of business in Singapore. So a company which establishes a place of business or carries on business in Singapore, or this is which is going to establish, so which intends to establish a place of business or carries on business in Singapore, and this applies only to such companies. So the domestic companies in Singapore and the part 11 companies, division 2 part 11 foreign companies in Singapore, and they have specifically clarified, since the scope is pretty wide covering these two, they have specifically excluded this particular charge on property which is situated outside Singapore of any other foreign company. So if we are already registered as a charge holder in India for any property which is situated in India and you are not having any place of business in Singapore, then you are governed only by the Indian Companies Act and not by your Singapore Companies Act. So we are covering with this the registration of charges and what are the penal provisions if you are failing to register the charges, and obligation of the registrar to maintain this particular register of charges, and also the duty of the company to maintain it at the registered office, and section 199 which talks about the preservation of such registered documents, which is your instrument evidencing the debt with the company for a period of at least 5 years after this particular charge is completely settled. And finally, the application of this division under section 141 which talks about all the companies including the foreign companies. Thank you very much, friends. Take care. Stay safe.